#1 Cross-Industry High-Load Summit. Infrastructure, AI, cloud, cybersecurity. 30+ global tech leaders on stage. 1 day, 3 stages, unlimited insights. Future technologies for large-scale digital businesses. Warsaw, September 10. Tech Race Summit. Get your ticket.
Bingo, bango, bango. Sergey Kastukevich. Great to have you here, my friend. How are you doing today?
Hello. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you as well. I'm okay, and you?
Yeah, it's all good to hear. Thank you for traveling over all the way from Poland here to do the spotlight today. And it's a really interesting episode because around 8 months ago, I had the pleasure of doing a podcast with your colleague, Dennis, who used to be the co-CTO together with you, Sergey. And now, obviously, you kind of split up, and you took the CTO position of SOFTSWISS, and Dennis took the Chief AI Officer position within SOFTSWISS. Obviously, SOFTSWISS doing its best to really be in the forefront of building a strong technology company. So maybe starting on that front, you've been CTO now for around 6 months. Obviously, since around January, after 5 years as the co-CTO. How's that all coming along now as you are the sole CTO?
To me personally, it's much more interesting, to be honest, because before that, during these 5 years, I was mostly focused on infrastructure questions and some of the products. And now, as I'm leading all the technologies inside of the company, I'm more focused on product and providing the needful value from the technology side to fulfill these product and business needs. And it's much more deeper approach rather than just you doing something really limited like infrastructure or any kind of questions about reliability only or whatever. It is more like a business approach where you fulfilling the needs of the business and needs of the product with the technologies and the technological approaches required to build something, product, service, whatever they need.
Brilliant. And I'm really curious, this is something me and Dennis talked about in the podcast a while back ago, the difference between the CTO department and this new Chief AI Officer department. And actually that podcast inspired me to also pursue to create our AI department in our business. Actually, it was all because of that podcast we did with Dennis. Right after that, I messaged immediately my CEO Anna, like, okay, we have to we have to do this as well. And we've also been grappling with these questions. Exactly, where does the AI department live? Like, what is the remit versus the technical department, let's say, because there are some overlaps. So I'm curious to hear from your perspective. How do you split up responsibility, ownership, and accountability within the business between these two departments?
Okay, I'll tell about that. So it's not about the splitting of the responsibilities. It's more about the focus which is necessary to be in place for the AI technologies, because this is a focus from our founders, and they make us understand that this is a strategical target for us to adopt AI technologies inside of the company. And talking about the cooperation with Dennis, he's much more focused on this area, on this topic, and we are supporting him implementing those things he invent, advise, suggest during his working with his role, right? So how it looks like, he is working more with a group of companies inside of the SOFTSWISS brand, and there are different business lines, different services, different products. Teams, and his role is to harmonize all of these teams working with the AI technologies in a proper way, providing with the necessary vendors, with the necessary services, tokens, whatever they need to get this adoption of AI technologies done in a proper way. And one of the team, which is of course has to be in this work as well, is a technical team, because the business is not only about the technical teams, right? And this is our collaboration with Dennis. So we synchronize our activities in the way that he basically gives this vector of the movement of how do we need to change. And we are implementing this in details, in practices, in all of these things, supporting his ideas and his, I would say, vision and KPIs. So that's how it's organized. So at some point of time, we decided to do this change because it was not, fairly speaking, it was not really enough of the focus for the AI technologies adoption inside of the company. And we realized with Dennis that it should be something that someone have to take responsibility, full ownership of this process. Otherwise, it would be very, very late in the queue. So it will be the latest one, because the business things like operational work, day by day, all these important clients, etc., takes your focus and your time, takes everything, right? So if you don't have a dedicated interest, a dedicated focus to this topic, it would be not very good developing. So that's why we make this decision. It's a very strong shift, strong change for the company and for Dennis as well to get this topic well developed, well implemented inside of the company, inside of the group of companies. And for me, it's a cooperation again with him, implementing this exactly for the technical teams.
So I'm curious, with all these big changes now, what are the biggest challenges of being a CTO currently, especially in SOFTSWISS now that are going through big change?
So actually, I would say that the most biggest challenge for now, not only for me as a CTO in SOFTSWISS, but for all the technology leaders, doesn't matter what the level they have. It's a crazy amount of the information, the changes which are going on right now in the world, because of the AI era, because of all of these new practices, approaches, and for the leaders, this is very important to be in line with all of these changes and all of these updates, challenges, and all these things to align their strategy and their team activities in the right way. Because there are plenty of choices, there are a lot of options. If you're talking about the AI, for example, the AI technologies are very fresh, very young right now, and there is no any kind of standards in the way how it exactly should be done for this or that type of tasks. So for the technology leaders, I would say this is the biggest challenge now, to get this right idea for their teams, how to develop, how to, for example, adopt AI technologies, how to build new process of delivery using of the new approaches, new technologies, and then to keep teams working with that new approaches, new processes. So I would say this is the first biggest challenge. The second one is the potential trade-off, which sometimes happens when you work with AI closely, because you now can do a lot of things very fast. But it's sometimes it goes mistakenly with a trade-off to the quality, and as a result, you have problems with the reliability or with the security. So I would say that the security thing is that the second biggest thing, which have to be highlighted as a challenge for the technology leaders and for me exactly, because we have to keep in mind during all of these changes and optimizations we are doing with the new technologies, with the AI, that we have to be very keen with the security aspects, and we have to include this at every step of our workflows or frameworks, and to do not forget about these things. Another one thing that I would like to mention is that we're working in iGaming, and this is a sphere of the entertainment. In entertainment, there is a kind of a specific approach working with the clients. You don't have sometimes a second chance to make a first opinion, right? So you have to be very good from the first try, and that's why you have no chance for the mistake, right? So you don't have possibility to change something after you fail it, right? So you have to be very, very good at the first try, and that is important for me as a leader of the company, technical leader of the company, where these products are built, and for entertainment, for the building of the emotions and experience of the people. And as we're providing these products as a B2B provider, we have to be sure that these products provides uninterruptible user experience and the positive emotions they get from using of these products as the clients, as the players, for example, right? And this is also probably third by the level complexity challenge which I have in my work.
Yeah, interesting. A bit unrelated, but what do you think about this thought around maybe that SaaS companies in the future might struggle? Because at the end of the day, some softwares you can start to create now using just vibe coding your way through the things, right? And HubSpot, Salesforce are down like 80% on the stock market because of fears from investors that maybe companies will start just vibe coding their own CRMs, for example, and things like this. What's your thoughts around that as a challenge, perhaps, in the future, and staying ahead, from companies maybe producing their own in-house solutions in the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm actually, to be honest, do not support this idea that the SaaS business would die because of the AI era, whatever. It is not because it's hard to copy something. One of my colleagues says that in the new era, the technology weight itself is not such huge because everybody can copy this technology. I can accept this part of the sentence, but the next part will be that. But after you copy this, finally, you have to repeat the success every time when you change this software, when you update it, when you add some new features, etc. So it's not a trick probably nowadays to repeat something first time, but to repeat this second, third, fourth, fifth time, doing this the same level of quality, the same level of scalability, reliability, everything, service even for the clients you provide as a part of your business, not only a software, right, piece. So it is hard to replicate, it is hard to repeat. So from my understanding, it might be easier to prototype something and even build the first version of the software, but then business comes, because you need to support your clients, you need to work with their opinion, with their feedbacks, you need to improve your service or your software or any kind of services around that, because it's interlinked to the software itself, right? So from my understanding, AI will not kill the SaaS, because sometimes you better to pay for something and get this as a service, as a software, like Google Workspace, for example, and do not spend your time or resources, building everything around that, or building itself this Google Workspace or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, at the end of the day, it feels like, when you start going deeper into AI and creating different solutions, you kind of get to the point where the AI is incredibly good and efficient at doing like 80% of the work, but then that last 20% is maybe what will be so enormously challenging to solve in future AI models that you'll just never be able to close the loop fully, and like the human has to be in the center. And to your point as well, to build really big, complicated software products, it's not just about creating the software itself, but then to maintain it and improve it and so on. And that's where obviously it is complex operations and processes comes into play. You said something interesting recently, Sergey, that players notice failures, but they never notice reliability. It's kind of like the best software is invisible, so to some extent, I suppose. But talk more about what you mean by that.
Okay. I did a kind of a comparison with the people who came to this amusement park with this roller coaster. And I just get into the idea that as a client, which are riding this roller coaster, I wouldn't like that it stop at some kind of point of the hill and then continue. But this pose make you half of your life. So this is exactly the same for the iGaming for this industry, because we are working first with the money, and people make stakes, they do bets, and this is very essential. So you have to be very accurate and very keen about this, not only for the players itself, but for the operators. So you have to provide the software solutions which are very, very good with these things. So they do not do mistake, they are very transparent, they're fully understood, they are fully compliant, etc. So it is important. So we have to keep in mind all the time that we are working with money, and this of course very important by default. Okay. The second thing that this is the emotions of the people. So, and we are working with the user experience, right? So they came for the entertainment, for the positive emotions, for the how to say, another part of the how to say. So people come to these, online projects to get some emotions, and when you interrupt these emotions immediately because something doesn't work, for them it's like fully garbage. So they will not return back to you. So they are easy to choose another one product or another one brand or whatever. So you have to be very, very accurate with these things. So reliability comes first in this industry. That's why I'm talking about that in that way. So as I just said before, you probably don't have a second chance as operator, the provider of the software for the operators. You don't have a second chance to make a good feeling or good opinion of your clients or the users of your software. Yeah, and what else I may say about that is that maybe you probably would like to hear what stands behind the scene to provide this those results. I would say there are several things, but the majors to what we having in SOFTSWISS is that paradigm of thinking is that the security and the reliability are the first, and they are by default. So any of the changes that we do with our products, we are architecturing and analyzing and designing technically from the perspective of the security and reliability first. And we put this as in first place. And this is one of the things which can be, how to say, working just like that if you just copy something, right? Because you have to keep this paradigm every time, all the time. So it's more about the, how to say, the way you work, okay? And it cannot be copied easily, right? And the same again about building of the reliable software and reliable products is that you have to keep this in mind all the time. If you start something new, building a new product or updating this with new features, you have to start with these things. You have to apply those requirements at the very beginning to have the software working in any conditions, in every level of loading, amount of the user simultaneously working, whatever. So security and reliability first as the by default requirement for any change that we do. The second thing that I would like to mention is that basically we do a lot of duplication and extra points of presence for all of our components, and this ambiguity gives you basically high probability of that you are safe in case that something goes wrong, right? So if some part of the components goes down, you actually have duplication, and then the business is keeping working. So doing any kind of components or services, doesn't matter is this the first version or it's a new version of the existing product, we are building this in the way that we duplicate everything. So you always has a, say, physical possibility to switch if something goes wrong. Okay, so we do this as default by default as well, and then we of course do a lot of monitoring around that. So if something goes wrong, we quickly switch or quickly fix it. Okay. And then, of course, the third thing that is very essential for the way how you build the reliable and uninterruptible products or services is basically working with the best teams, best experts, and the best vendors. And it's not something that you get once and you just keep it. It's day-by-day work, so you have to have a really great team, which I happily have in SOFTSWISS. And of course, very good vendors who are providing you the best services on the market. And you cannot bring good service if your providers are not very good. That's why we are always analyzing the market and trying to select the best ones. And of course, during this conference, which we're planning for the Warsaw on 10th of September, most of our vendors and providers of the technologies which we are using will join us in these conversations, and it will be interesting to talk to them about these best practices and the services they provide.
Yeah, let's talk about the event for a little bit. It's really interesting what SOFTSWISS is doing. Essentially, on the 10th of September, this is the first time I believe that SOFTSWISS is hosting this true tech conference essentially is taking place in Warsaw. You get gunning for 1,000 people, more than 30 international speakers, some really cool partners that you have as well. Talk about why did SOFTSWISS decide to put on this event? Talk a little bit more what the purpose is and how does this all come together?
Okay, I'll tell you about this. I tell you about this because it's basically one of my biggest challenge I put for myself for this year. I wanted to organize such event. Previously, we had several conferences inside of the SOFTSWISS organized internally, and when the guys visited some external conferences, they seen that the level of the speakers, the level of topics, probably less interested even for them rather than just the ones which we had internally in SOFTSWISS. And from that, I understood that there are a lot of other companies who would probably like to share these knowledge, these best practices, the information, which is very important for our industry to compete these challenges, right? So first of all, I would like to mention that fairly speaking, there is no such event or place that such technology discussions could be done in between the technology leaders of the iGaming world. Of course, there are a lot of conferences and business exhibitions with business people talking about the iGaming business and what the challenge is there and how to succeed in that. But for the technology people, for the product people, for security people, there are not a lot of such places. From my experience, the most of the interesting ideas or multiple discussions which I had to get something new in SOFTSWISS implemented, they are normally done personally, in person, with some how to say, eventual meetings during the business events, for example. So there were no such a place where the technology leaders can, change these ideas or collaborate together to get some, standards or ideas which will help everybody in this industry to basically make industry growing. And I tried to understand this situation, and I came to the idea that it's probably because the iGaming itself is quite a young industry, comparing, for example, to banking or insurance or other industries, and that's why it's still very, very developing. But for now, it's stuck because a bit in technologies, because it requires much more wider discussions about the same technological challenges, the same things to implement, to solve. And the same challenges with AI, for example, security, cybersecurity. And I came into the idea that the SOFTSWISS can help with that, help industry growing with creating of such event where all of these technologists and the technology providers can meet together and discuss best practices, different approaches, share the knowledge which was not shared before to help the industry growing, because with that we all wins, right? Because the industry gives us more possibilities and we are growing with it. As SOFTSWISS, one of the biggest provider in B2B in iGaming, we have a lot of partnership, a lot of different companies we are working with, and we had a lot of possibilities to gather such community and such event to basically initiate these discussions, initiate this collaboration, initiate this communication and knowledge sharing. And with that helps our industry growing further.
Brilliant. I'm excited for this event, and you're absolutely right. In the event space and conference space in the iGaming industry, there isn't a dedicated space for tech people specifically. I think maybe it has to do also with that traditionally the tech people are more the segment that usually sits and gets stuff done rather than attending events and selling and buying things and so on and so forth. So it's really interesting what SOFTSWISS is doing in that regard to pull everyone together in this space. And it's not just for iGaming, right? This is cross-industry event.
Yes, exactly.
As well. There's some really interesting partners that you have too, I think.
Yeah, that I didn't mention, but it's full truth. So the idea that the iGaming is not only one in these challenges. is actually that the other industries in entertainment, and not only in the same banking and in financial companies, the companies meeting the same challenges, the same tasks, and in the processes and the AI adoption tasks. And we try to build the place where we can get the synergy of the ideas from other industries and probably mix this together. So it's also a possibility for us to look into these challenges and problems and the everyday tasks from the eyes or perspective of the other businesses, and to probably get some cool ideas to implement in our industry as well, in our projects as well. So we do not how to say, restrict the topics. We try to be as wide as possible in the how to say, audience, so everyone can take something from this conference and reuse the information that they get from this. And we try to bring as much as possible technology leading companies like Oracle, like Amazon, like Cloudflare and others to bring their vision there, concentrated, their understanding of the new horizon of the technologies, which probably come in the next half of the year, 1 year, to enable everybody to hear their understanding of the technology development and what they foresee, what they plan, what they assume, so everybody can, make their decision and build probably a future strategy from this knowledge, from this information, which brings together at such event.
Brilliant. And just taking a step back again, into AI and how it's changing your job. I'm really curious about that too. You call SOFTSWISS approach SDLC 2.0. AI obviously handling most of the software development cycle these days. What does that look like in practice?
Okay, so first of all, let me explain what we call AI adoption and AI transformation in the company. Okay, so with the AI adoption, we mean that every employee of the company has to use the AI technologies where it's applicable and cost effective, doing his work. Okay, so it's normally about the automation of the routine tasks, repetitive activities, etc. And this is about the usage of the technologies in the place where they need it. I mean, the AI technologies, okay? So imagine that every department now, with the help of Dennis, working and adopting the AI tools for translation, for writing of the texts, for drawing of the presentations, or for creating of the functional requirements for the new product. And then each such department works with their set of the artifacts, with their set of the documentation files or processes. How do they work with those? But when you imagine this is a chain of activities, like a workflow, which goes, for example, in software development, when you have this first product idea formalized in some kind of requirements, then it goes to the development teams, then it goes to the QA team, etc. And all the time you meet the people inside of this process. So basically, you need to organize again this communication between the teams to make this knowledge shared in between the sub-teams or sub-departments. So for example, products create the requirements, then they need to explain this to the developers, then they need to explain this to someone else, etc. So it's always like a people in this chain, right? And doesn't matter how good you are adopting these AI technologies at each of these steps, how fast you bring these documents, how fast you develop the code, or how fast you run the tests or whatever, those communication between the people and all of these synchronizations, knowledge sharing, retros, all of this stuff, they are eating all of these optimizations. So it's okay and it is good to do the AI adoption. It probably gives you 10 to 15% by the statistics over the web of improvement of the boost for your company, for your business and overall. But if you would like to move forward, you have to realize this is the very, very first step. And then you talk about the AI transformation, because all of your processes, all these communications and transferring of this information across the teams during you do this, full business cycle, you have to implement in a new way when you have the same, for example, base for the artifacts. For example, if you're working with a specification, you do this now as a code. You do this in Git. So you do not work with the Confluence, for example, as the place where you store the requirements, but you're working with the Git, and then the product team, they are doing the changes in these Git repositories. Then the developers are using the same artifacts, and the testers are using the same artifacts, and this is for all the shared components of the process. So you need to realize your organization and your business in the way that the workflows are different now, and probably the processes of management and analyzing of the efficiency of these workflows are different now. So probably you need to get off of these agile practices, of these Scrum practices. You need to go into the other way of doing the work around this software development business, for example, right? So, and this is about the transformation. So not only like adoption of the tools, but transforming of the way how you are using this together in the whole business. And this is the difference. And that's why we call this SDLC 2.0 as the new version of the software development, as the overall process, overall for everybody, not just making those teams are using the AI tools, but making the change in the way how do they cooperate to each other, minimizing the communication and synchronization efforts in between teams, making this as much as possible fully automate, right? And in the end of the day, of course, our desire, or the final target we plan or we would like to be. It's called now, in the world, they call this dark factory. So actually where the people are not needed. But of course, this is very, very, future in front of us somewhere. I don't know, maybe in 1 or 2 years. But I believe we have to move in that directions. And of course, this is supported with the Chief AI Officer team, Dennis and his guys. But the implementation itself is inside of the technical teams together with the product and some other teams which are all in this process. So we call this SDLC 2.0 just because this is a change of the paradigm of thinking and the approaches. How do we work together at every level, not just using the AI tools, but building a framework or workflow, doesn't matter how we call it, allowing you to change fully the process of creation of the software.
Yeah, so the summary is essentially if you throw some tools to people, like here's tool 1, 2, 3, good luck to you. Here now you are 15% more productive, and that's good. Yeah. But you will hit a limit. Right? Sure. Because I think what we all run into now with using some of the tools is that all of a sudden you can produce an enormous amount of information, for example. So. But then the second step of that is that it becomes information overload very quickly, because you're not closing that loop, right? You're just going from generating a lot of information that is like really good information, good briefs, good PDFs and so on that you can send across the teams. But then people just don't have time to read this like massive lots of texts, right? So then the next step is to try to close that loop and to, instead of people being bogged down with this like massive amount of information that is hitting them, to instead to try to simplify ideas. But then ultimately what you're saying is the organizational chart has to change in order to really close the loop and enable hyper productivity that is not just measured in like you did these 10 things before and now you do 12 things, so now you're at 20, but it's like it's a different way of working, the different processes, different way of collaborating, different way of thinking. And our AI consultant says that in kind of this new AI native businesses, one of the most important things to make that transformation as an individual is that you have to become a really good manager, because you are like managing all these AI agents. And in order to get them to do what you want them to do, you have to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, and so on and so forth. And so that's also like a change maybe for individuals to make, like how to best manage these agents. Is that something that you guys are thinking about a lot?
Fully agree with you and fully accept all of these ideas and theses. I just wanted to add that for the cycle of the software development, in this new paradigm, you have also include some other steps which are not obvious from the first view. For example, when you're releasing all of these new products or features, imagine that you do this 10 times more in the same period of time. Are you ready to release all of the things and adopt your clients to these newer features so easily, just like before when you had 10 times less of this feature delivered every, I don't know, months or week, right? So it's also a question. And so you have to include all of these aspects in the way how do you do the business, because improving on the single step of all of these chain segments will not give you business benefits, right? Business value. So
you just run into other bottlenecks. You can be like hyper productive here, but then there's a bottleneck here and stuff. So the whole process needs to change.
If you put a great engine in the old car, it will not work.
Change, exactly.
And exactly what you're talking about, the new skills which we have to evaluate in the people. This is what we changed recently in our skill metrics for the new employees, for the interviewing of the potential candidates for the positions. And now we really pay attention to the things that people have to be first flexible of understanding of the technologies. So we do not accept now that the guys, for example, happy only with Go language or Ruby language or JavaScript or whatever. They have to be language agnostic first, because the changes are very fast, and we don't know what will be tomorrow. Will be that we are using these exact languages that we have right now. It will be some other technologies. We have to be very flexible in changing your tool set and the methods you are working. The second thing that we really like to see in our employees when we interviewing them, candidates, when we interviewing them, is that they are more managers, like you said, rather than just coders or developers or architects, because it's exactly the way how it works now. So we have changes of the paradigm of work. So before that, we split the task into smaller pieces, which have to be done by the exact guy or lady with the exact knowledge or competence. Nowadays, these are merging, these are transforming. So now we're talking about the product engineers who are doing the product. So they are owning the feature from the very beginning, even sometimes reading the requirements, then implementing this with the help of the agents, and then releasing it to the production. And we have many of such cases for the greenfield projects inside of the SOFTSWISS, because we are doing a lot of these experiments. When the developers sometimes becomes the ones who are doing the first, of course, development, back-end and front-end, but also doing this, I would say, ownership of the feature, providing sometimes even details for the requirements themselves. And this is the changes which are happening right now. So when we are evaluating the candidates, we are trying to find such persons who are flexible, who can be owners of the new features they are doing, and to feel this not like a coders or developers, but being a manager who is responsible for realizing of this functionality and owning of this functionality and understanding this as a product. So it's much more managerial type of thinking and working with these agents, which are basically just like a developers before.
So I'm curious to hear where this is all heading. I mean, just recently, Kimi released their new model. Opus 5 came the other day and actually outperformed Fable in many metrics. And obviously nowadays this rumor in the background that GPT-6 is being trained currently, that apparently blows everything out of the water. The space is just changing so fast, and just compare now to beginning of the year, and we are in a completely different space. In 1 year's time, like where is this heading? Like where is iGaming technology in a year's time, do you think?
First of all, I would like to say a few words about the conference, because it's actually what we tried to do we try to gather all of these important updates, all of these trends together from the leaders of the industry. And I mean, the IT industry, okay? So I don't mean the gaming exactly. I mean all the IT providers like, as I mentioned, Amazon, Oracle, Cloudflare, and others who are basically, work with the 90% of the internet traffic. So they know the trends, right? So they understand where this is going to, right? And they can let everybody know their opinion and their understanding of the technologies. So it's a good chance for everybody to get this information, to get these trends, and to understand where they are in this in this field, and what should they probably change in the way they doing the business or implementing something. From my point of view, it will be much more standardized business. So right now there are a lot of R&D projects, different approaches. Even in SOFTSWISS, for example, we try to be very flexible with the technologies which developers and the other specialists can using. So we do not restrict the vendors or the providers of the models, for example. So our engineers, they can work with all the famous and good providers like Anthropic or OpenAI, or even Cursor, or some others, GitHub, Copilot, etc. So the idea that we try to give as much as possible opportunities for our engineers to feel the best one, to find the best one option, and then probably use this as the major one. But nowadays there is no major one. There is no leaders. There are leaders, but there are plenty of those. Okay, so and the idea that for the next year, from my opinion, it will be a big change of standardizing of the way how do you work with the AI technologies. So it'd be more about the orchestrations of the agents, about the building memory bases, for example, around the business, around the operations inside. This is more about the working with the context, working with specifications, code, working with the different departments and synchronizing of their processes, etc. So it will be much more about the standardizing how do you do the business together with the AI era. Even when you talk about the web and the way how you work with the web products, nowadays, for example, there is a question arise: how do you provide the content on your web page? So do you do this for the people, or do you do this for the agents? So you cannot ignore this fact that the AI now is one of the biggest agents in the world who are reading and try to analyze your web pages, your websites, etc. So, but there is no standardized. There are some ideas about that, but there is no single standardized process or protocol which will be telling us how to build the website, which will be easy to how to say to be read by the AI model, right? And this is something that is happening right now. So a lot of standardizing, a lot of protocols, a lot of standards come to the market, and I believe the next year will be the year of standardizing all of these things to make life a bit easier for the ones who try to use this technology efficiently.
Brilliant. Final question for you today, Sergey. Where do you see SOFTSWISS technology in 3 years' time from now? Are you envisioning the dark factory to be true at that time, or what's the vision?
So the idea that the SOFTSWISS is always working in a way to be a pioneer in the industry, to be one who invent the new technologies, invent new approaches, and find the ways how to do this better than probably than the others, and make this as a standard for everybody. So I cannot tell exactly which technologies will be in use in the next 3 years, or how the technologies will develop. Honestly speaking, if someone would ask me what will be in the next half of the year with the technologies, I cannot answer exactly. What I'm really sure that the SOFTSWISS would be concentrated on or focused on is that we have to be, it's our intention, okay? So it's not requirement from someone, but it's requirement to ourselves. We want to be leaders in this in this industry. We want to be trend builders, and we will work definitely in the way that we provide scalable and secure technologies and the processes and products for this industry. And doesn't matter what the technologies are, basically would be pioneers in the way how we scale it, how we do this secure it, how we do this high available, and basically focusing on these things during the next years. It's really hard to answer the question what will be in the next 3 years right now.
It's impossible.
So I try to make it, when we ask this question to ourselves in the company in SOFTSWISS, try to be fair and not think that this or that technology will make us successful or whatever, but we try to build engineering culture. We try to build the correct approach to the way how you change your processes, being aligned with these new changes in AI, and being flexible in the new tools usage, in new approaches usage, and this is you can be focused on. So I would say that SOFTSWISS always feel itself as the leader and pioneer in the technologies for the iGaming industry, and not only. And all my experience in SOFTSWISS that we always try to build very reliable technical products, and which are very, very stable, very high quality and secure enough. And even now we are more focused on the success of our clients and the operators' growth, and we provide not only the technical solution themselves, but also expertise and the competence of the market, making them grow with us and with our products together. And I would say that the next 3 years we will keep this approach, providing the best solutions, being pioneers in the way how do we implement the products and using the technologies in the proper way, and share this knowledge over the market and helping the industry growing.
Brilliant, Sergey. Thank you so much for sharing the insights here today. Like I said last time during the episode with Dennis, it was an inspiration for us to make changes in our business, and certainly to have the update today as well, Sergey. It's additional inspiration for us to become better as well, and I'm sure that's the same for the listeners as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thank you for a really great interview. It was an interesting discussion.
Thank you.